Hi, readers. It's Miss A again. I'm excited to see you. I'm glad you're back. Today, we are going to work on writing an alternative ending to a familiar text. So, we're going to look at a book, a fiction text that you've already read, one of my very favorites, and we're going to work on being a creative writer of endings. So, reading and writing work really closely together. And I know you're thinking, this is usually a reading lesson. But great readers are usually great writers, and great writers are usually great readers. So it's really important that we take what we learn as readers and we use those skills to help us be even better writers. So here we go. Let's read our target for today. Read along with me, follow with your eyes, and keep in mind at any point if you need to pause the video to work, take a break, or do anything you need to do, go ahead and do it. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. I can write an alternative ending to a familiar text. Who knows what this word alternative means? That's right. It just means different, a different ending to a familiar text. Put 2 hands on your head if you remember reading Tops and Bottoms by Janet Stevens. It's a great one. So I want you to remind yourself, how did this fantasy fiction text end? We know it's fiction and we know it's fantasy because fantasy texts often involve talking animals. Who remembers how it ended? Remember? You don't? Oh no, what are we going to do? Good thing I have it linked here, readers. So we're going to listen to it one more time. If you do remember the story and you very recently read it, then you can go ahead and move on. Fast forward in the video to after the story ends. If you don't remember, I want you to listen in to this really fun reader we have who's ready to read it for us today. Pay attention to the ending. Remember, in the ending of a text, we listen closely and carefully for what's included. How is the resolution solved? How is the problem solved? We call that the resolution. So listen really closely. How is the problem solved? And who were the characters we were introduced to that are still in the ending? If we keep those things in mind, it'll help us to meet our target today. Listen in.
Well, hello there. It's Ani. Are you ready for a story? Today, we're going to read Tops and Bottoms. If you have a copy, go get it so you can read along with me. Tops and Bottoms. There's something very different about this book. Instead of reading from side to side, you read from the top to the bottom. Tops and Bottoms. Adapted and illustrated by Janet Stevens. Once upon a time, there lived a very lazy bear who had lots of money and lots of land. His father had been a hard worker and a smart business bear, and he had given all of his wealth to his son. But all Bear wanted to do was sleep. Not far down the road lived a hare. Although Hare was clever, he sometimes got into trouble. He had once owned land too, but now he had nothing. He had lost a risky bet with a tortoise and had sold all of his land to Bear to pay off the debt. Hare and his family were in very bad shape. "The children are so hungry, Father Hare. We must think of something," Mrs. Hare cried one day. So Hare and Mrs. Hare put their heads together and cooked up a plan. "Look at all those little rabbits. They have a very large family to feed." The next day, Hare hopped down the road to Bear's house. Bear, of course, was asleep. "Hello, Bear. Wake up. It's your neighbor, Hare, and I have an idea." Bear opened one eye and grunted. "We can be business partners," Hare said. "All we need is this field right here in front of your house. I'll do the hard work of planting and harvesting, and we can split the profit right down the middle. Yes, sir, Bear, we're in this together. I'll work and you sleep." "Huh?" said Bear. "So, what will it be, Bear?" asked Hare. "The top half or the bottom half?" It's up to you, tops or bottoms. Let's see, Bear said with a yawn. I'll take the top half, Hare. Right, tops. Hare smiled. It's a done deal, Bear. So Bear went back to sleep, and Hare and his family went to work. Hare planted, Mrs. Hare watered, and everyone weeded. Bear slept as the crops grew. When it was time for the harvest, Hare called out, Wake up, Bear! You get the tops and I get the bottoms. Hare and his family dug up the carrots, the radishes, and the beets. Hare plucked off all the tops, tossed them into a pile for Bear, and put the bottoms aside for himself. Bear stared at his pile. But Hare, all the best parts are in your half. You chose the tops, Bear, Hare said. Now, Hare, you've tricked me. You plant this field again, and this season I want the bottoms. Hare agreed. It's a done deal, Bear. So Bear went back to sleep, and Hare and his family went to work. They planted, watered, and weeded. Bear slept as the crops grew. When it was time for the harvest, Hare called out, Wake up, Bear! You get the bottoms and I get the tops. Hare and his family gathered up the lettuce, the broccoli, and the celery. Hare pulled off the bottoms for Bear and put the tops in his own pile. Bear looked at his pile and scowled. Hare, you have cheated me again. But Bear, Hare said, you wanted the bottoms this time. Bear growled. You plant this field again, Hare. You've tricked me twice, and you owe me one season of both tops and bottoms. You're right, poor old Bear, sighed Hare. It's only fair that you get both tops and bottoms this time. It's a done deal, Bear. So Bear went back to sleep, and Hare and his family went to work. They planted, watered, and weeded, then watered and weeded some more. Bear slept as the crops grew. When it was time for the harvest, Hare called out, Wake up, Bear! This time you get the tops and the bottoms. There, in front of Bear's house, lay a high field of corn. Hare and his family yanked up every corn stalk. Hare tugged off the roots at the bottom and the tassels at the top and put them into a pile for Bear. Then he carefully collected the ears of corn in the middle and placed them in his own pile. Bear rubbed his eyes and watched. See, Bear? You get the tops and the bottoms. I get the middles. Yes, sir, Bear, it's a done deal. By now, Bear was wide awake. That's it, Hare, he hollered. From now on, I'll plant my own crops and take the tops, bottoms, and middles. Hare and his family scooped up the corn and hopped down the road toward home. Bear never again slept through a season of planting and harvesting. Hare bought back his land with the profit from the crops, and he and Mrs. Hare opened a vegetable stand. And although Hare and Bear learned to live happily as neighbors, they never became business partners again. When have you had to work hard for something you want or need? Let me know in the comments below. I would love to find out all about it. I hope you enjoyed our story today. See you next time.
Okay, readers. Oh, that's such a fun story. I love looking at the characters, and I love how Bear and Hare really are such unique characters. Okay, so our target is to rewrite an ending for this familiar text. Now, to be able to do that, we really have to focus in on what we know about Bear and Hare. And luckily, we're familiar with bubble maps. What's really cool is this is a double bubble. So this double bubble gives us a chance to compare things that are similar in the middle. And then on the outside, we're going to compare things that are different. So all of these red circles over here, I want you to see if you can come up with some describing words for Bear. And then all of these green circles over here, I want you to see if you can come up with some describing words for hair. So bubble maps are used to describe something, and a lot of times we call these adjectives. So we use describing words or adjectives in a bubble map. When we use a double bubble, we're comparing two things. So today when we're comparing hair and bear, I want you to think of what are words you would use to describe bear. Yep, he got awfully frustrated, didn't he? He was also lazy, I agree, and sleepy. Now, what are some words you would use to describe hair? Sneaky. Very creative. He always tricked Bear, didn't he? And hungry. In the beginning, his family started this whole deal with Bear because they were so hungry. That's right, readers. Nicely done. So now that we know the characters, we've taken a minute to describe them, we can use what we know about the characters to write a new ending. So once you're familiar with the new ending, then you're able to go ahead and write a new ending. So this is a new ending that I wrote for Tops and Bottoms. If I were to look back at everything I already knew about the beginning and the middle, we knew we were introduced to the characters in the beginning, the Hare's family who was hungry, Bear who was sleepy and lazy, the conflict in the middle when Hare kept tricking Bear every single time. So now that I know that, I could take this plot that has been back and forth between Bear and Hare always tricking Bear and making deals with him. Knowing that and what I know about Bear and Hare, I could now write a new ending. So I want you to see if, based on what you know about Bear and Hare, I want you to see if you can use that background knowledge to help me fill in these words to this ending that I rewrote. Bear was very with the situation. How did Bear feel after Hare kept tricking him? What was one word we used to describe Bear? That's right, frustrated. He decided to sell his house to a family named Mr. and Mrs. Rabbit. Now, would that make sense in a fantasy story if we have talking animals? Could he sell it to a new set of talking animals? He sure could. That makes sense, readers. The rabbits planted a garden and decided to become partners with the Hare family, and they all lived happily ever after. Would that make sense if the Hare family continued to work and garden and make deals? If the rabbit family was willing to be partners with them, would that make sense? It would. So all the parts of my new ending still fit with the characters and the events and the problem that have happened so far. All right, let's finish. Well, except the bear who moved into an apartment in the city and blank too much junk food. What's one word we use to describe Bear? And Hare that could help us here. That's right. He was so hungry, so he was always looking for something to eat. He ate too much junk food. That's kind of a silly ending, but that's what's so fun about being able to write your very own ending. So readers, now you get to try. I want you to find your reader's notebook, a pen and a pencil. You can go to your digital reading notebook on Google Classroom or anywhere you would like. I want you to try, use what you know about Bear and Hare. You can go back in the video to this, pause at this page if this helps you. Think about what we know about the beginning and middle. What would be an ending that makes sense? It could be silly, it could be serious, but it still needs to be fantasy and fit with what we know about the characters. So go ahead and give it a go, writers. Make sure you follow the writing process. Plan it out carefully. Make sure you include all the important parts and do your best. I can't wait to read what you've done. Now, if you want even more of a challenge, readers, here you go. I want to see from the very beginning of a fiction fantasy, you plan out the characters, the plot, and all the important parts to include. Now remember, great writers start with a plan. So I would use a single bubble map for each character you want to include. Then I would use a flow map or some type of plan to plan out that beginning, middle, and end. You could go back in our video to this slide if it helps you map that out too. Be creative and have fun, super readers. See you next time.